All right, so it's our last session. So I hope you guys are not too drained out, just like me. So pioneering path, journey of game infrastructure builders. And we got Hashi Labs person and Asian A. So think about Web3 games, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually reduce, my time as much as so I can give you the fuller. So let's just first start with a little bit of introduction. So how about that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Asian
I
A?
can start. So I'm Zimin. I'm leading BD efforts at Infinite right now. So before I joined Infinite, I was a product lead at quite a good, quite a big GameFi project called Cyball. Not sure if anyone have heard of it. And right now I'm leading BD efforts at Infinite. Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Alex, Head of Business Development at Hetchi Labs. Hetchi is a one-stop shop for Web3 infrastructure, now primarily focused on the gaming industry. We provide smart contract auditing service called Kalos, in-game wallet SDK called Face Wallet, and we also provide Genesis Wallet, which is a corporate wallet for treasury management. Please be here.
Thank you. So actually, speaking of which, so yeah, let's go with you first, Hachi. So why so bullish? I mean, I've always known about the Hashi Labs, and you started out as an auditing service, and then started, providing other services. And what's with the pivot to Web3 games?
Yeah, why we're bullish on Web3 gaming, I think the short answer is because all of our partners need the gaming infrastructure so badly, and we're able to see that in the very much the front line of this industry, because the gaming industry does make up a big portion of our clients for the past 5 years. So as Maxi mentioned, we started as an auditing company, but moreover, as we were accelerated by the Ethereum Foundation, we really honed in our skills in the smart contract sphere and realized that wallet is really the biggest entrance barrier, not to Web3 native people who are familiar with MetaMask and Web3 degens, cherry pickers, but the Web3 first timers that are completely enjoying the current popular IPs in Korea and Japan and do not want to associate with things like seed phrases, connecting wallets, switching in and out of the gaming experience, or so on and so forth. So, I mean, I can go on about why industry-wise, macro-wise, why Web3 gaming is going to be huge. But short answer is because our partners need it so desperately.
So because there's actually demand on the business side, I guess.
Right.
So, interesting how there's actually demand, because a lot of people say we're still in the gray area. Some people call it bull, some people call it bear. I mean, the fact that some people it's actually split between two goes to show how gray area we're in. So comes with a big risk, you know what I'm saying, going with the Web3 games.
So if I may share a bit of further context, let's just zoom out a little bit. Gaming sector as a genre has always been at the forefront of mass adoption of new technologies. If you look at the internet and the mobile users, right now I think gamers make up about 3 billion people in the world. That's half of the world population, and actually over 60% of the entire internet users around the world. If you look at AR and VR as well, games are some of the initial cases that we're dealing with. So, and also if you go back to maybe 2010, if you look at the App Store stats, over 80% of the paid or free applications were all games. So it's no surprise at all that if you look at the on-chain data, for example, from 2021, the gaming sector single-handedly has been leading the on-chain sector over DeFi and NFTs. So it's not so much about why we believe that the gaming is going to make sense. In the past couple of decades, it's been already like that, right? And if I go into a bit of why our stakeholders and partners believe in games becoming the mainstream with regards to Web3, is I think investors coming into the Web3 gaming scene. So if you look at how games have evolved, you had, before the internet age, you had just players as the single most influential stakeholders, but now you have, with the internet, you have content creators and content consumers. With social media, people videotape, make content about other people making or playing games, which is apparently being watched by millions of people around the world, right? So we think that the next phase with the Web3 technologies is the rise of investors, where you are allowed to invest in things like NFTs, tokens, because you believe in the gaming ecosystem. So it's a whole positive cycle of investors coming in with, deploying large amounts of capital, which obviously boils down to users being able to do more things within the game and out of the game. Just one last thing that I'll mention is obviously there's a huge value for the incentive alignment, right? Back in the day, I mean, you're probably familiar with the gaming guild as well. If you're creating a guild and participating in a gaming community, you probably don't get a lot of values except for like a nice pat on the shoulder that's like, hey, we beat another guild. But now with the Web3, you can bet, you can win tokens, you can win unique NFTs that all becomes tangible assets because it becomes your money. I wouldn't be playing less games now because my mom would always scold me for playing so much game when I was little if I could make as much money now thanks to NFTs and tokens. So I think that's just on a personal side as well.
Awesome, man. So we're on the extended lines of the cycle, I guess, and you're actually betting it's actually it's bound to happen. So, all right, mate. Thank you for your answer about the Team Information 8. You actually started out with the Cyball team and then kind of transitioned to Asian 8. I'm a super fan of gaming guilds, by the way. So, can you give us a little bit of why you're, where you're coming from with the gaming guild, like how you got into it, and why you're so bullish on the Web3 games?
Yeah, so Ancient 8, we started out as Vietnam's biggest gaming guild. So I think at the peak, we have around 12,000 scholars at one point. So essentially, we all know that the gaming guild model doesn't work in this market whereby, the returns versus the time put in is, it's not there, right? So essentially what we are doing is basically, we are pivoting to building GameFi infrastructure, right? So we have a few different products under our belt. One of the more notable products is Space 3, which is our questing platform, which hit 100K users just a few days ago. And I'm happy to announce also that in Ancient, we are going to build a L2 based on OP Stack. So, I know there's a lot of different chains out there, but yeah, so what sets us apart is we will be gaming-focused L2 built on OP Stack, so we will be the first gaming-focused L2 built on OP Stack. Yeah.
Wow. So actually, going out there and going so far as building an L2 stack. Wow, that's awesome. On top of the guild, and I've heard that so Space 3 you said, and I've heard something about the UID and the uniform ID and stuff that you guys are building right now for software-wise.
Yeah. So I think end of the day is we envision Ancient to be a one-stop shop for any GameFi project to come to us and work with us. So we have products that serve all the different verticals, right? So for Space 3, it serves the questing vertical. For our L2, it serves the chain vertical, and then we have a community vertical which we call Play Nation, whereby we host game nights, we do community as a service, we do like playtesting services as well, and then we also have a UID solution called Echo ID, whereby different games can integrate our UID, and then users just have to log in with their socials once, right? So I think a big problem with different games and whatnot is every game you go to, you have to either create a new account and then connect your Twitter, connect your Facebook, and then everything. So with Echo ID, we envision that, just connect your account with Echo ID once and then use that account to log into any Web3 games out there. Yeah.
Right, so a lot of software in the works, and speaking of which, let's go on to the next question, which is challenges in building a game infrastructure. So let's start with you because you were actually talking about it. And were there any challenges? Because to me, it sounds pretty difficult to actually build that, even the L2 stack. So
I think building is easy, right? Building
is easy.
Yeah,
What?
but I think what's hard is getting the users on board, getting the adoption. I think building it's hard, but it's like comparing to getting user adoption. That's the hard part,
I
right?
think that deserves a separate PR stunt there. Building is easy by Zimin.
I mean, I'm not the one doing the building, so to me, it's easy, right? Yeah, but yeah, so relatively, I think building it's easy, but getting the user adoption is pretty hard, right? But then if you take a look at statistics from MetaMask, I'm glad to say that Vietnam, we are one of the highest crypto adopting nations in the world. So getting people to come on board to our ecosystem and trying out things we build, it's relatively easy. But what we have issue is penetrating into other markets, right? Whereby different markets, their culture, culture, and then how they do business, how they try new products is very different. So that is one problem that we are facing.
right, so it boils down to, I guess, you have the product, but still, the question is how are you going to get the people to actually use it? I guess it boils down to marketing and stuff. How about the Alex? What's your take on this? The obstacles and challenges that you experience building software and stuff?
Yeah, so now grew to about 70 people, and majority of our folks are developers. So I wouldn't say that building is easy just for their sake, but I do agree with what you're saying, because if you look at what we're doing, especially with Face Wallet has a B2B2C model whereby we provide our Face Wallet SDK for free for our business partners so that they can succeed with onboarding the Web3 first-timers or Web2 users, so to speak, right? So the weekly discussion topic becomes like, okay, now that you have integrated with our wallet and launched your game, let's see how the user acquisition is happening. And then, the room becomes very silent because both parties are really looking forward to onboarding more users. So it's not really, I think, anyone's fault, but I think the difficulty that comes, especially between the infrastructure and content providers. Like, imagine if the services like Netflix, basically services like Netflix that require a high amount of server and data usage, and the cloud services were there way long back, and there were no applications like Netflix, and there's no usage and need for cloud services, right? So we, as industry partners with a lot of these game companies, entertainment companies, we only hope that these services will take off and explode. I think that would be more for business development folks as well. We want this industry and ecosystem to grow as fast as possible. So I think the challenge comes with, how quickly and efficiently would the mass adoption happen, which translates into user acquisition.
Awesome, man. So, but what is it that you think? What is it that makes you think that it's the wallet server that's going to actually lead to mass adoption? Then, what is it?
Face Wallet.
Why wallet? Yeah, Face Wallet, but yeah.
Well, so last year, I assume that folks not from Korea are here for KBW. Last year at Korea Blockchain Week conference, we had a speaking session whereby a lot of the gaming companies, entertainment companies came with some great hopes and dreams and plans about how they're looking to integrate with their existing IPs. I think this year marks a significant milestone that while it's a bear market, it's a crypto winter as some would call it. I mean, if somebody were to ask me if it's winter now, like you look around for hackathons like this on a Sunday night, I wouldn't call this a crypto winter. But the reason that I'm saying this is I think this year marks a milestone because if you look at the AAA game studios or the ones that already have a very, very high potential of existing IPs, like in the entertainment space with Hype, for example, I think it's only just a matter of time that the mass adoption happens with real use cases and applications. And at the conference this year, I'm sure you'll be able to see some of the actual live cases. Like, for example, Bora, essentially the blockchain game service under Kakao Games is very live and active among others. So I think Korea and Japan also are at the forefront of driving the Web3 mainstream adoption. And again, infrastructure and content have to work, hand in hand.
Awesome, man. Thank you for your answer. For Sinead, do you have any success story that actually, you said building is easy, but there's got to be a challenge, in the middle. In the middle of building stuff. So is there any success story they do know, other than it doesn't have to be your project, but that has overcome certain challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people doesn't know this, but XCX actually born and bred in Vietnam. So XC actually came out of Vietnam. Another success story I like to bring out is KyberSwap. KyberSwap is one of the original DEXs. It's also born and bred in Vietnam. So there's a lot of devs. There's a lot of talent in Vietnam. It's just that I think one issue people face with Vietnamese people is the communication problem. So that's why I think and even for us, Space 3, right? So Space 3 is only up and running for 2 months, and we already crossed 100K users, right? So there's a lot of talent and hard work in Vietnam. It's just that you need to find a way to bridge that communication gap.
Right. So what is it that you actually did to buy out to win their heart, the customers? What is it that you guys actually did to get the users to actually use the platform? What is it?
In short, it's I would say that what we did well was we onboarded as many games as we could. So it essentially people will come for one game, like, right? So they'll come from one game, one gaming community, and then they'll do the quest of that gaming community, and then they'll explore the website. Because like I think something good that we are doing at Space 3 is our engagement time is really high. It's like 6 minutes per session. So what people do is they come, they complete the quest that they are from originally, and then they will explore our website and see like, hey, this game sounds like it's something similar and something that I might enjoy, right? So that cross-pollination, I think, is very important.
Okay, so onboarding as many games as possible will be the one way to buy out the users, I guess. All right, man. Moving on to the last question, since we've got about 5 minutes left. So the future of Web3 gaming going forward, we'll go with Alex. So what do you envision? What do you see? What's the potential that we have in the Web3 games besides just making monies, mate?
Let's see. I think in the last panel, I think I heard Ready Player One. Just show of hands, how many people watched Ready Player One movie? If you look at watch the movie, it's quite funny because I think the name is Oasis, where everybody is existing. I envision, like, if you watch the movie, and I hope that the reality is not as grim as it looks in the movie, but basically the premise is by 2040 or 2050, most of the things will be virtual, so you have an alter ego, alter identity in the virtual space, the so-called metaverse now in many other verticals. I think the movie painted a picture very well in terms of how smooth and seamless everyday activity that we go through in life happens, not just as well as how it happens in real life, but even better and faster, right? And again, I bring in the collaboration between the content creators and infrastructure providers there. So that's kind of the end picture that I have, where as we have our daily discussion with all of our gaming partners on how to make sure that the Web3 games are played just like the Web2 games are played. So this includes completely getting rid of the onboarding issues. So that's what Face Wallet tries to do, right? With social login, 6-digit PIN code, SMS OTP, non-custodial. So our core belief that our B2B partners base their needs completely based on their end users' needs. So the way it works for us is if we try to make everyone's lives easier for our B2B partners, then the users that they target would benefit significantly. So I think I would like to sort of end it with, again, the visualization of how the Ready Player One happens, because that itself is literally games, and I really hope that experience is provided with all the other gaming partners that we have.
All right, so I can see you're leaning a lot towards the metaverse, I guess. Still betting on metaverse, right? Yeah. All right, I can see that. What about Ancient A?
I strongly resonate with what Alex said. So I believe that what he said, like, you need to extract away as much as the blockchain stuff as possible, right? Make it as easy as it is, as seamless as it is to onboard players, right? And then once that process is like maybe 80% of a Web 2 game, that's when we can onboard more and more Web 2 players. Because if you think about the pool of Web 3 players, right, there's only so many players and they're just jumping from one Web 3 game to another, right? But if we target the Web 2 segment, like Alex said just now, it's like 3 billion plus players, right? And how do we tap into that market? I think obviously, number one, you have to make the onboarding process as simple as possible. And then once we do that, I think more and more players will be more comfortable to come on board and try like a Web 3 game.
All right, man. Thank you for your answer. I do have a lot of questions that I really want to ask, but since we got to wrap it up, I got about a minute left. So we're just going to wrap it up right now. How about that? All right, thank you guys for give them a big hand, please, for our panelists.
Thanks for having me.
Alex and Jimin.